Hey guys, it's Luke, and in this video, we're going to talk about grammar, especially how adverbs can modify things in English. Now, you may think, I know about adverbs. I'll bet you don't know everything. There's a lot to know. I don't know everything. Now, if you do know everything, then get out of here. Why did you click on this video? We don't need you. But if you think you might have some more things to learn about adverbs, you will definitely want to stick around. Now, before we get started, make sure to hit the like button, make sure to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and also check out my courses in the links in the description. Let's get started. So we're going to be talking about adverbs and how they modify things, how they modify different things. But before we do that, we need to make sure we're on the same page. We need to make sure we all understand the same things. So let's talk about some basics. What exactly does modify mean? It means the thing that tells us more about something. For example, an adjective. And I think you know what an adjective is, but let's just review here for a second. All right, let's say we have a word, and our word is potato. Potato. Now, if we circle the word potato and we connect things to it, things about the potato, we're modifying it, right? We might say the potato is bumpy to describe what it looks like. We might say that it's fresh to describe how old it is. We might say that it's old, right? Which is bad if you have old. Why do you have old potatoes in your house? That's weird. Okay, we might say that it's we might say that it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Now, what is a hilarious potato? Well, maybe it's shaped like Kevin Bacon or something. I don't know. Maybe it has a shape that makes people laugh. So these are words about this thing, potato. Okay, so these are adjectives and they modify nouns. That's what an adjective is. Pretty simple. It is a word that tells us something about a thing. Could be a physical thing, non-physical thing, but basically nouns. All right, so that's an adjective. Now, that's not really what our lesson is about. Our lesson is about adverbs and the things that adverbs modify. So I just wanted to cover those basics so that we're on the same page. I think we are now. We know modify and we know adjective for sure. Okay, what do adverbs modify? Well, I think you're going to say in your head, you're going to say, oh, well, they modify verbs. And you're not wrong. You're right. But many English learners have a limited understanding of adverbs. Many English learners have the idea that adverbs are all like this. Q-U-I-C-K-L-Y. That's a Y there. That's not a cup, but it could be, I guess, if you did that and filled it with some hot cocoa. Still a weird cup. Anyway, so most people have the idea that adverbs end in ly and they're about verbs like, for example, we could say run quickly, right? That's the idea that people have. Well, that's not quite right. Well, it is right, but there's more. It's not just about how some action is done. We can have adverbs to talk about places. We can have adverbs to talk about time or frequency. There are many types of adverbs. So we're going to go through those quickly first, some of those, to get an understanding about the range of adverbs that are out there. And then, very importantly, we're going to talk about how adverbs modify other things. What other things besides verbs could they modify? How about adverbs? Wait, are you telling me, Luke, that adverbs modify adverbs? Yes, yes. And when we go through it, you'll say, oh, that's what that is. Ah, what else do they modify? Well, this class is called Adverbs for Adjectives, so they must also modify adjectives. Yes, and we will go through some examples. Let's just go through the basics first of adverbs modifying verbs, which is the ones that we are generally most familiar with. Okay, so we have run, and we could say quickly. That is how we run. We could say scream, scream, and to add to that, we might say loudly. Now, you might say that's a little bit redundant, right? Because if you scream, that's automatically going to be loud, but there are some screams that are louder than others, so I suppose you could say that. But I want to be very clear. These are not only ly, because we could say go tomorrow. Tomorrow, in this case, is an adverb because we're using it to describe going, right? When do we go? How do we identify an adverb? If it's about the action. If it's a word about the action, then it is an adverb. That's right. And sometimes words can be both adjectives and adverbs depending on what they're about. So just ask yourself, what is this about? What is this about? Okay, and then you'll have the answer. It's either probably an adverb or an adjective. Okay, what about leave? L-E-A-V-E, which means also kind of go, to go out. What about leave soon? Yes, what kind of leaving are we doing, right? The soon kind. So it's about the action. Same thing. How about sing? S-I-N-G. Why don't we say always? Always sing. We could say always sing. That's about the action, so it's an adverb. In fact, we call this an adverb of frequency. An adverb of frequency. Because we want to talk about how often something happens. It's about the verb. It's about the action. All right, so we have that one. How about stop? Stop is a verb, right? S-T-O-P. Now, stop can be a noun as well, but we could say that stop is a verb. We might say stop here. So this is one about location. Why is here an adverb? Because it's about the action, stopping. How is the stopping happening? Here, it's the location. So this is an adverb of location. One more. Jump off. Jump off. Okay, this is about the action. Somebody's on something, and then they're not on it anymore. How did that action happen? In what way did it happen? Well, it went from on to off. So jump off. Off is the adverb. These are all modifying the verb. Very simple. I just want to make it very clear that these are not only ly words, although, of course, those are very common. Now we're getting to it. Stay with me. We're going to get to, not yet, we're almost there. We're going to get to adverbs that describe or modify adjectives, but not yet. First, we need to talk about adverbs that modify other adverbs. So let's look at some examples of that one. All right, so we talked, and then we're going to put a word here, quietly. All right. Now, I want you to just think to yourself, what word might go there? Now, this, obviously, this is the classic adverb. It's about how we talk. In what way are we talking? The quiet way. Yeah. We're talking quietly. What could we put here to then add meaning to this? If we put something here and it either changes or helps us understand this better, then we are modifying the adverb. We're not modifying this more. Well, we are because we're doing this more. But basically, we're modifying the adverb. Well, we could put extremely quietly. We talked extremely quietly. We're adding something in front of quietly to say how quietly it is. This is about the degree of quietness, the degree of quietness that we are being extremely, right? We could say a bit quietly. We could say very quietly. All of these would be adverbs modifying this adverb quietly. Okay, let's look at a couple more examples. And I'm going to ask you to put one in before I do. We'll do the classic middle school blank space, all right? She found it, put a word there, blah, 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 easily. She found it easily. What could we put there? What do you think? Well, how about very? That would be an easy one to use, right? We could say somewhat, meaning it's not as easy as very. So then when we do that, either somewhat or very, we're saying to what degree is the easily? Easy is a pretty general word. It could be this easy, this easy, this easy, or this easy, depending on what we want to say, all right? So just to be clear, here we're modifying adverbs. Let's look at one more example, and then I promise we're going to get into the adjectives. You always arrive, verb, late. Okay, that doesn't look like an L, but it is, I promise. So we have something we want to put here. We have an always here. This always would be about arrive. Arrive is our verb, right? So this is a classic, simple adverb modifying the verb arrive. But now we want to add another adverb that modifies always. Which one can we use? How about almost? Almost helps us to understand the always. If it's always, that means every single time. If it's almost always, that means not every single time, but pretty close to that. So this is an adverb, and this is an adverb, and this one is modifying this one, and together they're modifying this one. All right, so they sort of join forces. They become a team together, and then together, once adverb number 1 is modified by adverb number 2, they combine forces like a superhero team, and they modify the verb. All right, so we've talked about the basic type adverbs that modify verbs. Then we talked about the second type, adverbs modifying other adverbs. Now, finally, at last, the topic of the video, adverbs modifying adjectives. So I want to be really clear about why we would want to modify an adjective. Well, just as we tried modifying other adverbs, we might want to change the way that we understand the adjective, okay? So let's say, for example, we have an adjective like nervous. All right, you know this. This is when you feel about something, whatever it is, okay? Maybe before you give a presentation or whatever it might be. Now, this is, of course, an adjective because it's about a thing or a person. Well, I guess, can things be nervous? I had a vacuum cleaner that was nervous once. Other than that, most of the nervous things I know have been people and animals. Anyway, nouns. Okay, so we know that this is an adjective about a noun, some kind of noun. Maybe it's just she or he. We just use a pronoun like that. We want to then make this either more or less, right? In the same way that we did with adverbs. And so we could use the same word, like we could add this, extremely. Extremely nervous. She was extremely nervous. How about quite? Quite. She was quite nervous. He was quite nervous. He was extremely nervous. He was a bit. A bit. Now, this is often considered a little bit different, but it is being used as an adverb in this case. The way that we're using it is to modify this thing, the kind of nervous that we are. So we're modifying the adjective. Now, remember the example where I said you almost always arrive late. We could do something very similar to that, except use it as an adjective. Before it was you almost always arrive late. But what about this? You are almost always late. Okay, now this one combined is about this. Late is an adjective. Late is an adjective. You're late. We can modify that adjective by this combination. We could say you are always late. We could say you are almost always late. In either case, what we're doing is modifying the adjective late. And if we put almost in front of always, this is modifying this, which is an adverb. And then together, like in the other example, they are modifying this. In this case, an adjective. The concert was loud. All right, how about this one? So we have loud, which is an adjective, right? Because this is about this. Concert is the noun. What should we put here? How can we modify this with an adverb? How about incredibly? The concert was incredibly loud. Now, we wouldn't say a little bit loud because that would be very strange to say in this sort of situation. So incredibly is a good adverb to put in this place to modify the adjective. Now, this is the last example. One of the most common adverbs that we use to modify adjectives is to, T-O-O, to. For example, you're too. Now, what adjective could we put here? Too young. Young is an adjective, right? What is this? What is this madness here? Y-O-U-N-G. You're too young to have a boyfriend. There we go. You're too young to have a boyfriend. Now, this one is very interesting because this one doesn't just modify simply the adjective, like the concert is incredibly loud or the concert is loud. Okay, loud by itself or incredibly loud. Incredibly is just adding to the meaning of loud. Is this just adding to the meaning of young? Actually, it's doing more than that. We kind of have to have it here for the meaning of the sentence to be understood, because the whole meaning of the sentence is about how this person is not at the right age to have a boyfriend. That's what it's about. And so we have to have to here in order to make sense with the word young. If we just say, you're young, have a boy, I don't even know what that sentence means. Okay, so sometimes the adverb is necessary in order to make the adjective make sense in the whole sentence. So for to especially, a really, really common adverb that we use to modify adjectives. Hopefully all of these are clear. Hopefully you have a very clear picture of how we use adverbs to modify both other adverbs, adjectives, and of course, verbs. Now, if you have any questions about this, please let me know in the comments. I know it's tough. If you want to try to make your own examples, I'd love to check them out in the comments. All right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my courses in the links in the description. Hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.